What's up, everybody? Josh Allen, Mike B. Don't get your hopes up.
Yep. We're late.
Yeah. Sorry.
No.
We got caught in traffic.
We're not sorry.
We're not sorry, no. Because you know what? We care exactly about as much as about the pod. See?
Oh man, see, where did it even go? Where did it even go?
See that sentence, it
was perfect. It was, we care about as much as this sentence. I don't even know. And that was the end of it.
I just gave up halfway through. That's this podcast, internet.
We care about this podcast, but
we do.
We got carried away with a couple things this week.
Yeah. Like
which
Costco.
is when the name comes in handy. Which is what?
Like Costco.
Like Costco. No, it ended up not being Costco, which was good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
because if you were wearing like a suit around Costco,
I know. Like... so what happened was it was my fault actually. Okay, fine, it was my fault. Yeah. Last night it was me and it was my wife and I's. It wasn't our anniversary, but it was the first day that we had without a kid. To actually, so we go and celebrate it. Kid was staying at the in-laws' house, so we were like, oh wait a minute, we have a night without kids. Let's like go do stuff. And so we did, and we went to this Italian restaurant, and we just ordered a whole bunch of appetizers, and we drank a lot. And so when I came home, I was like, yeah, I don't even. Oh, I don't have the mic hooked up, so I can't. All right.
Yeah. I want you to know that in my head, I replaced an Italian restaurant with Costco and ate a lot with like 50-cent hot dogs. And
what were the samples?
Drank a lot is still drank a lot because holy crap, the amount of liquor at Costco is ridiculous.
Oh man. Hey, their vodka is actually pretty good.
Yeah, they actually have some pretty decent liquor. Like one of my coworkers, Randy Jordan, who Randy Deluxe, he also does a few podcasts. He used to be on The Instance. He went to Costco once and he came back with this like scotch. Mm-hmm. And he was like, wow, this scotch is really good. And he went and looked it up, and it turns out it was just Macallan that they'd relabeled for some reason. Like they were like, so we've got this Macallan, and we'd really like to find a good way to make less money off of it.
It's just like leftover Macallan. It was like, you know what?
Yeah. Yeah, so it was amazing. Everything else at Costco, totally not worth it, though.
I don't know, man.
Not worth the fee.
I don't know. They have some pretty good nugs. Like, I'm not even bringing that up because nugs. I'm bringing that up because they actually have some pretty good nugs. There's the little dinosaur ones. Yeah, dude. The dinosaur ones are amazing.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing that if like I had to feed a family of several people, then I would be like, okay, maybe this is realistic because I can buy 7,000 of something and I will go through all of it before it becomes a problem.
All you have to do is just commit yourself to eating the same shit 3 times a day, and you will get through that food.
Well,
it's easy.
Some of us go to a place to work.
Well, then you could pack a sack lunch, dude. Come on.
I can, but I like the Blizzard cafeteria. So
oh my god, this is some serious first world problems right now. Jesus.
I don't think you understand. We have a 25-cent vending machine.
Oh my god.
Every morning, man, I get like a bottle of orange juice, and it's a pretty decent sized bottle too. It's like a liter and a half or something. Maybe not quite that much. It's like 25 cents. It's amazing. I don't need Costco. I have a vending machine.
I kind of miss the small office food supply. It's always like it's like OJ or like some kind of coffee machine thing.
Oh man, we have a tea cupboard and it has like 10 different types of tea in it, and it's amazing.
This is like the dumbest conversation for this podcast.
Oh,
we could have totally done this before we started.
Yeah.
Hey, but it was at Blizzard though, right? So there you go. There's the tie to gaming.
Yeah, it was at Blizzard.
Kapow!
And it's really important to know that the floor that I'm on is like the only one that actually has chai. So that's good. So anyway, if you were unable to tell from the fact that we've been rambling about this for like 5 minutes, we don't have nearly as much to talk about this week, which is partially because the internet is, I don't know, it's still being the internet this week, but there isn't anything particularly new to report along those lines. And also there was some game came out. It's like called Density or something.
Oh,
like
that sounds great.
Yeah.
It's my density.
Yeah, you're my density.
It's funnier than it should be.
Yeah. Because immediately in your head you saw like Back to the Future and that exact scene. He's like, "You're my density."
Dude.
You're my destiny. And it's like the second time, like what is with that scene, by the way? Like that is some of the worst acting that's ever existed. Because the first time he's always like the first time he says it, he's like, "You're my density." And then the second time, all of a sudden he's like this super suave, like totally chill, like woman eater sort of dude. He's like, "I meant you're my destiny." And it's like, this is nerdy guy.
So the first when I saw that and I was a kid, I didn't realize that he was reading off of like a little like notepad, right? I actually thought, and which made him infinitely more creepy, that he was holding out like a Hershey's candy bar. And I'm like 7 or 8 or something.
Why would you think that?
I don't know.
All the things.
It looked like a candy bar, like just a Hershey's. It was flat, maybe it was open or something. That's why it looked like that. And I was like, no wonder she's so creeped out by this guy. Some random dude trying to give him candy. As a stranger trying to give him candy. That's fucking weird.
Never take candy from strangers, especially when they talk about your thickness.
Exactly.
Your air to matter ratios.
Exactly. See?
So anyway, Destiny's dead now.
Destiny's yeah. Next story.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We'll get to the Destiny's dead part in a minute, but
oh yes.
But yeah, you've logged a lot more time than I have.
Well, I've logged more time. I don't know that a lot more time really qualifies, but yeah, I'm like level 9 on my warlock at this point. Which is, Cat, stop trying to eat my headphone cables.
Jesus, Cat, not right now. Can you see we're on other tangents?
So many problems.
Jesus.
But no, yeah, I've been playing my warlock. It's still a very fun game. Like I enjoyed it a lot in beta. I'm still enjoying it a lot now that it's released. Yeah, like there are a couple of things that I'm not a huge fan of, and I really wasn't a huge fan of in beta, but like I feel like it's the game that I bought, so I'm like, yeah, it's cool. I'm keep playing this game. It's really been a lot of fun. I've been playing it as much as I can, which isn't much, but I've been trying to play it a bunch. I'm super jealous of Shizzle, like playing for 1 billion hours on like the first day with his stupid mouse and keyboard.
Well, that part I'm okay with.
So, okay, let's address the mouse and keyboard elephant in the room.
Oh God! Oh wait, is there really, Laura? Is there really like?
I don't know. I just felt like it just seemed like the thing to say at the time.
Okay, yeah, no.
But no, it's interesting. So, okay, backing up a bit, it is possible to use a mouse and keyboard on the PlayStation. Honestly, it's been possible to use a mouse and keyboard on all sorts of games for ages, and I feel like a lot of people don't really know about this. But in a game like a first-person shooter, this is a huge advantage. You can get an adapter. There's one that's called like an XIM4, which is like $120. There's a cheaper one called like a Cronus Max, which is like $60 or something. And it actually just lets you basically hook up a mouse and keyboard to your PlayStation. It's a little bit weird in how it works. And you have to be able to do things like turn the sensitivity like way up, or else... Excuse me.
Yeah, and the reason why you turn the sensitivity, would you stop burping or whatever that is?
My bad.
The reason why you turn the sensitivity all the way up is because if you think about it, when you move a mouse in a first-person shooter, you're like twitching left and right. But there are actual limits to how quickly you could turn when you have the sensitivity setting because in a console game because of the way the joystick functions. And so
essentially what it does is it makes the mouse act like the joystick in an extremely precise fashion. Which is crazy because then you play a game like Destiny or Halo or whatever, Warframe, and you have this game where everybody else is running around with their little sticks like, I'm going to try and shoot you. Hold on a second while I calibrate my giant, like, siege tank cannon to be able to point at you properly. And you're just like swing around, no problem, take shots at people, and you're playing it like a twitchy first-person shooter.
Exactly.
And it's definitely a major advantage. It's a pretty huge advantage. Well, as long as you're decent at mouse and keyboard controls, but
for some of us, it actually brings you up to the level that everybody who's been playing first-person shooters on consoles forever, where they're at, which I think is pretty good because think about it, a new player who gets in and gets like into the Crucible or something, and you go up against people who are just like really ridiculously good at playing with a controller. They wreck your face. And so it's like, you know what? If I have a mouse and keyboard, which I haven't done the Crucible yet, so I don't actually know if this is true. I might get my face kicked in. But yeah, if I had a keyboard and mouse, I might be able to jump in there and actually be on their level, which would be pretty great because that's my skill level using the tools that I use in order to play a first-person shooter.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I feel like if my opponent is way better than I am at this game, then they should be dominating me.
No, they're way better at using a controller.
Okay, sure, whatever. But using the controller is part of playing the game. Like, that's how the game exists. That's like saying, well, it's okay for me to use this wall hack because I don't know the map as well.
That is not even close. That's not
exactly
even close.
what it is.
No, it's not.
It's exactly what it is.
No way.
It's exactly what it is.
So
if I were to set this, if I were to buy one of these things and use it, I would have spent money to gain an advantage in this game.
All right. So that's not true either. The way I look at it is, and I own one of these things, but I've also been playing first-person shooters on the PC since like before some of you who are listening were even born. So
it's true.
Which is actually kind of true, which makes me sad. Makes me very sad.
You're very old.
Yeah, very old. But that's how I play first-person shooter. So those are my tools. That's my tool set to play a game. Now when I play other people in a first-person shooter and I get my face kicked in, they are better at the game than I am. Right? They don't have better tools. I mean, you could argue, okay, maybe they had like a better mouse pad or whatever the crap, right? Or mechanical keyboard or something. But that's not the difference in skill we're talking about when I get my ass kicked in Counter-Strike, right? We're talking about guys who are just that good. But we have the same tools, we have the same everything, they just know the game better than I do. So going over to console, these are guys who have played hours and hours of whatever first-person shooter that they've been playing, and they can move their thumbs in the most precise manner. And sure, I've played my fair share of like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and whatnot, but I am not good at first-person shooters with a controller. I am good with the keyboard and mouse. I'm good at first-person shooters, but just not with that tool. So now that I have my tool set that I'm bringing to combat, they are proficient with the mouse and keyboard, with the controller. I am proficient with the mouse and keyboard. Now it comes down to who knows how to play the game the best.
But no, because the controller is just not, like, it just can never be as good of a tool as the mouse and keyboard. Just the precision, regardless of how good you are at using a controller, you are limited by things on the controller that you are not limited by in the mouse and keyboard. It's like saying, well, we got into a fight with the same... Like, we brought our own tools, and it was totally fair. I brought an AK-47, and he brought a stapler.
No. Because I'm still limited by the sensitivity of the game. So even though I have it up to max, I still am limited by the speed at which I can turn around. So somebody who's really good at playing with thumbs... Now, does this place me above a lot of people? Sure. But it's only because they're not good at using a controller.
It will place you above 9 out of the 10 people that you actually... come across, because the fact is 9 of the 10 people that you hit in the Crucible are also not like 10-year Halo veterans.
But let's be honest, I've been playing first-person shooters for so long, I am going to be better than 9 out of 10 people.
Only if you use your extra advantage of...
you can't. We're going to have to agree to disagree on this now. That's the thing. It's like, for me, it's about who knows how to play the game the best. And there are people who... they know the physics of the game better than I do. So they'll know, like when I play Halo, like they know the vehicle mechanics. They know when to jump out of the vehicle to fire a rocket in my face and then turn around and jump back in before it even hits me. You know, and like they know the physics of the game better than I do. And so those people deserve to kick my ass. And they exist. There are people who are really good at controller based games, and so it's like, and I don't even think I have assist on. Is it on full time? I think you can disable it, right? I was talking between Warframe and Destiny when I was testing this out. And I know Warframe gives you like all your PC basic like or your advanced controls over everything, so you could disable like auto aim and set your FOV and all that stuff. But I can't remember what Destiny has now. But anyways, I haven't done the Crucible yet, but I know that when I get in, I'm gonna end up being better than most people because I am better at first-person shooters, and because I'm gonna be filtering them out because I am, I'm using a tool that they're not as good as their tool than I am with mine, essentially. But the thing is, I see the angle of it's not fair because you're not using the same tool. But I'm not here to play with a controller. I'm here to play the game.
For me, it's about playing the game the way it was intended to be played, and Destiny was not intended to be played with a mouse and keyboard.
All right,
otherwise it would have come with them.
Well, hold on a second now. Hold on. I've been to your house, right? I've seen the mice that you guys use.
Yeah.
With all the buttons on them.
Yeah.
The game was not meant. No, World of Warcraft was not meant to be played with 15 buttons on your mouse.
Yep, which is why at major WoW tournaments, you don't get to bring your own like crazy stuff. You don't get to install add-ons.
And I'm willing to bet if I go to a major Destiny tournament, I'll have to use a controller. In which case, I don't qualify.
Yeah, well, to me, it's just sort of as. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's still about. For me, doing something like hooking up an extra like controller that you can't even use anymore is a bit more of a big deal than having a mouse with some extra buttons on it. Like, yeah. My train of thought went away.
No. I see what you're saying with the way the game is designed and all that stuff, but I don't think that it's any different than using a mouse like that, where you have so many buttons that are readily accessible.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I will totally, like, I have strongly been considering getting this adapter so I can play with a mouse and keyboard. Because, like, regardless of whether or not it's playing the game that it's the way that it's meant to be played, I just really prefer playing first-person shooters with a mouse and keyboard. It's just better. But like, it just feels more natural to me. And like, having spent so much time playing games like Counter-Strike and Blacklight Retribution,
exactly.
Yeah, like I have a sort of like the problem that I run into in Destiny is like the whole time I'm playing it, I'm like, well, actually, this happened very recently because BLR is also Blacklight Retribution is also free to play on PS4, and I downloaded it because I was curious. And after I'd played it for like 3 minutes, I was like, I'm just gonna go download this again on my PC and play it there because it's just so much better being able, like, to me, that style of gameplay, especially in a game like Destiny, where if you come across somebody, you can kill them pretty quick. Like, if I can see somebody and within like 4 or 5 shots kill them, at like tops, if that 4 or 5 shots, like I can one-shot somebody with a sniper rifle and so on. And that's sort of like Call of Duty sort of style of gameplay where somebody dies really quick if you get your sights on them. That's the sort of game that to me feels better if everybody's playing with mouse and keyboard than if everybody's playing with a controller, because on a controller, there's just so many situations of I walked out into this room, there were 3 directions for me to look. I looked left, the guy was to the right. I died and had absolutely no possible way to react to this sort of thing. That's the sort of thing that's frustrating to me. Like, I was running around and I just up and died out of nowhere because as I was running around, I happened to walk into the sights of somebody else. And that happens a lot in console shooters. On a on a PC, like, I can be swinging my camera angle around so rapidly and like looking at all of these corners and ducking in and out of things much easier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can
to the point that forth. Yeah, like I'm actually able to, like, when I get to an intersection that goes off in 3 different directions, I can just look all 3 directions, and I don't have to worry about I'm gonna run down one of these corridors and die because I went down the wrong way, sort of thing.
Yeah, you know, when you crank the sensitivity up to 10 or whatever it is in Destiny, because I run around on the what's it called in the tower or whatever it's called. I run around in that area using the controller. And I don't change the settings back down because I'm not gonna go back and forth. But whenever I turn around, like it whips around pretty fucking fast.
Yeah.
Like it's actually, and I know that there's people out there because when I was playing Halo for a bit, like people were like, "Oh yeah, you don't play with sensitivity at 10." I'm like, dude, people really play at that because I'm at like 6 and I'm like freaking out. Like,
yeah,
someone comes up next to me, I'm like, and I'm way past them.
Yeah, and a lot of it too is like, you even look at like the controllers nowadays. The thumbsticks have been getting longer and longer, and that actually makes it a little bit more difficult in some ways to be really precise with your actions. Like if it's a really flat and short thumbstick, like I don't know, it doesn't make any sense. You would think a longer thumbstick you could be more precise with, but just the manner of holding your controller and moving your thumb around, like you tend to go to the extreme much faster if there's
it's the lever fulcrum thing. It's like the farther away the fulcrum is from the end, then it requires less energy to move that point,
and it just gets too easy to be able to crank it the whole way.
Yeah, exactly.
So it becomes like you have to be a lot more precise with your actual thumb. You're not like pushing against something. It's the same reason that honestly, like when I was playing Trials Gold, I found that I vastly preferred my like Logitech F700 or whatever it's called PC gamepad to the Xbox gamepad because there's a lot more resistance on the triggers on the Logitech. And I was suddenly
that's right. I forgot you mentioned that. Yeah,
like the triggers were harder to pull in, and then it made it way easier to like do those steep hill climbs and stuff. Because I was like, instead of having to go from like, I don't know, maybe I'm not very dexterous in my fingers or something.
No, there's a difference. No, you're right. There's absolutely a difference.
Yeah, like when you can, it's a difference between like this amount of pressure and that amount of pressure being, I'm either now suddenly pushing the thing all the way down, or it was just a little bit of a difference. So yeah, I'm actually kind of curious. I think next time I play Destiny, I'm gonna actually crank up the sensitivity all the way and just see what it's like, and see if it's something that I could ever get a handle on.
I feel like because you could, especially if you force yourself into it and just kind of deal with the pressure or the disappointment and failing terribly every time you try to whip around and shoot somebody. Like you will get the hang of it. Yeah,
and it's the sort of thing that to me, I kind of wonder if that's something that people really can get the hang of to the degree that they're able to be as precise with a controller as you can be with a mouse and keyboard. Because even with a mouse and keyboard, like yeah, sure you can move it as fast as you want, but there's only so fast that your arm can move. Right?
Like, yeah, exactly.
If you can use the sensitivity on a controller to actually move it that fast, that would be that's an interesting experiment. I'll have to give that a try.
So there are reviews for this game, I guess. No, actually, I actually want to point out something. This is pretty funny. This is somebody who would not necessarily fit into this conversation, I don't think. But it's a pretty funny perspective. It's actually total Biscuit. Somebody said it's like aiming with a controller takes practice or something crazy. And I don't even know if they were talking about Destiny or where this comment was from. It's a screenshot of a single comment, right? He's basically all caps. It's like aiming with a controller takes practice or something crazy like that. And he says eating spaghetti with a pencil takes practice too. Doesn't mean I'm gonna bother to learn when I have a knife and fork. It does it faster.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, like first. Fucking wrecked, right?
Yeah. Well, like that's an interesting comparison too, because like you think about it, not necessarily spaghetti, but noodle dishes are extremely popular in Asian cultures where they use chopsticks. A lot of Asian cultures, like not all Asian cultures, obviously.
Even here at the house,
yeah, a lot of you use chopsticks, and you look at you look at a noodle. And you look at chopsticks, and you go, "What?"
Or rice, or rice.
What? Yeah, exactly. Like, seriously, rice, freaking spoons, man.
Yeah, like I'm somebody who uses chopsticks a lot, quite a bit.
Me too.
So you do get used to this stuff, but I'll be honest, if I'm at home and I'm like fucking fat lazy Sunday or something, I'm gonna pick up a spoon and eat my rice.
Yeah.
I'm not going to buzz out the chopsticks. But if I'm eating like sushi or something or whatever, something that's like, okay, or not sushi, but like, or anything else, like noodles, where I could use chopsticks and I could use a fork, it's like, I
would rather eat like ramen with chopsticks than I would with a fork. And like something like sushi, I would not even consider eating sushi with a fork.
No
Because
way.
that's just like, you're just going to destroy it.
Yeah,
like,
pretty much.
the chopsticks are just a much better option in that case. Like, before you use a fork, just pick it up. Like, use your fingers first.
Yeah,
man.
sushi was a bad example, but I think you get it. It's like it's one of those. It's
Well,
just
yeah,
one of those
and
things. Yeah.
It's a good example of, like, there are definitely situations in which chopsticks are a superior thing. And for a controller, there's definitely situations in which a controller is just flat superior. Like the concept of a twin stick shooter. Like, how do you have a twin stick shooter on a mouse and keyboard? The answer is poorly. So, like, it's been done, and it's been done all right. But it's always like, well, it's not really a twin stick. It's like WASD movement, and the mouse is sort of the other stick, and it's not as nearly as precise.
Well,
as
it's not, because you're only going to get 8 directions.
Yeah, exactly.
You're only going to get 8. There's no 16 directional sensor zones on that.
Yeah, and like looking at the chopsticks versus fork example, like I would not want to eat rice with a chopstick, but there are people that can eat rice with a chopstick faster than I can eat rice with anything, like my
With
hands.
my face.
Yeah, like
just cut out the middleman.
Yeah, once you get really good at chopsticks, and especially their relationship with rice, which I don't
Their
even
relationship with rice.
There's some sort of scientifical nonsense that happens with that, where it's like, oh yeah, you just hold the chopsticks exactly like everyone else holds chopsticks, and you pick it up with the rice exactly like everyone else would pick up rice with a chopstick, and for some reason the rice just flows out of the bowl into your mouth. Like, I don't understand how this is even possible, but people do it, man. So yeah, it's a sort of like looking at mouse and keyboard versus controller, like as a predominantly PC gamer. Like, I like console gaming, don't get me wrong. I really like console gaming, but I've spent the vast majority of my gaming life on a PC. If I want to play a first-person shooter, my first thought is going to be mouse and keyboard. Like, to me, it's weird even calling Destiny a first-person shooter, because I almost want to call it like a console FPS or
console
something.
shooter, yeah.
Yeah, because like I just want to insert the word console in there somewhere to remind myself that it's not mouse and keyboard. Yeah.
And I will say that I've already made my argument pretty clear, or my perspective pretty clear. But the only reason why I would go out of my way to use a mouse and keyboard on a console shooter is if I didn't have to really go out of my way. And once you get this shit plugged in, this Cronus Max plugged in, and it's set up, you're done. But if I was to go downstairs and plug the PS4 into the TV downstairs, I would just sit on my ass and just be bad with the controller.
Yeah.
Because that's what couch gaming is about. It's not about having a controller, a keyboard, and mouse in your lap.
Yeah, I guess that's a big part of it too, is like when I'm playing Destiny, I'm playing it sitting on my couch with my feet up.
Exactly.
And I don't want to try and figure out how to put a mouse and keyboard in that situation. Like, you remember the freaking, what was it, the Phantom ages ago? Do you remember that? It was like this console that was supposedly being worked on like pre-Xbox, like the original Xbox and everything. Do you remember hearing about that?
I'm looking at the pictures right now, and yes, I do remember this.
Like, there was this console that was supposedly being worked on called the Phantom, and it had this like supposedly like amazing, like, oh my god, it's so awesome. I can't believe that anybody would ever think of this like controller setup, which they called it the lap board. And it was literally just a keyboard that sat on your lap and like went up at this weird, ridiculous angle so that you could have a mouse like underneath it.
Oh, underneath it. Yes, yes.
Yeah. And it's like, this is absolutely ridiculous. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. If you go to, since we don't have video on this at all, if you literally just go to Google image search, type in Phantom console, make sure safe search is on, because I'm not going to be responsible for what happens if you turn that shit off.
What the hell?
Listen, man, I don't know.
Okay.
I just don't. You would be shocked at the stuff that can come up when you don't have safe search.
Phantom console in the Google image search.
Yeah, suddenly dicks everywhere. I don't know. But yeah, look at this thing and imagine trying to sit on a couch using that. It like has a hinge on it too. Like I don't know about you, I would be smashing my hand all of the time. Like, I don't understand this thing.
It's
and it never this console never came out, by the way.
Exactly.
Eventually someone went, no, this is just crap. There's even a picture here in the Google image search. of a Phantom console with Duke Nukem Forever logo stuck on it.
It's the best game to put on it. Oh man, yeah, yep. Well, so now that we beat the keyboard and mouse, they did fucking death from every possible angle. By the way, I'm still looking at that image, and it's pretty goddamn ridiculous. I can't believe that was even thought of.
Yeah. No, dude, it was like all over the place. Like I remember getting Next Generation magazine, which was like one of the precursors to. They eventually were like Games Radar or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like had like 3 months in a row, just like the latest news on the Phantom, and then nothing ever again. Yeah.
So we're liking the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm honestly like, now that I have the keyboard and mouse set up, like I want to play more. Like I streamed for a little bit, which is something I've never done. Right? Or I'm sorry, I've not done in a long time. Which is
never done
now.
Streaming before.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you? Side note.
I'm good.
Did you use the PS4 streaming, or did you?
Oh yeah, I used PS4 streaming. It actually looked really good.
Yeah, I was using that also the other day. I was having some weird issues with my headset at first, but then I did this weird, like crazy backwards hook up your mix amp to the PS4 thing for the A40s, and then it worked fine. I just had to have like cords strewn about the living room. Yeah,
I was trying everything and nothing worked with the controller, and so then someone in chat was like, "Just plug in your USB headset." And so like I didn't want to unplug my my mix amp, so I grabbed like the shittiest like Logitech G330 headset that I had, plugged it in, and it worked beautifully. Like it just worked. And so now I have the mix amp where I have another cable there, so I swap it out when I want to do that. But the thing is like now that I have the mouse and keyboard, like I am like cannot wait to play more because it feels better to me. So my experience has now been enriched by the fact that, you know, I have now a tool that I could use, and I want to play the game more. It's a good game, but controllers, man, terrible. But
yeah, I don't mind the controller myself, but like I said, a big part of it for me is that it's something I can sit on my couch and play.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not that far. I only just got past like the first moon mission. I've still not logged as much time as I did when I was in beta, because you know the multiple characters and whatnot. But still, it's like it feels just like a game where. So I think the biggest thing is like it feels like Diablo the shooter.
Yes. That's
what it is. So it's like when I play the game, I'm not really looking necessarily for like an end. Like when I was testing, I was playing like the level 2 mission or something, and I was still like having fun, just kind of like playing and testing and shooting things and just doing all that and like picking up garbage loot that they had. It was like still fun that way.
Yeah, it's awesome that you mentioned that you refer to it as Diablo the shooter, because I was actually like just before we were recording this, I was out having dinner with Taryn Gregory and a bunch of people. Taryn being like one of the cinematics guys at Blizzard. He was also in
Taryn,
Azeroth
right?
Choppers. Yeah, Taryn.
It's the guy they named the Taryn class right there.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
that's where that came from.
Okay.
No. But like he said the same exact thing. He was like, people don't seem to understand that this is not an MMORPG. This is not like they didn't start with an MMO and put shooter elements in it. It's more or less just Diablo as a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Like he said the same thing, and that's what this game is to me. This game is, it's a first person shooter with some debatable story elements and a bunch of loot, and that's it. It's like it's Borderlands with even less story to me. Like
it totally is.
Yeah,
it's Borderlands with less story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like the way the patrol missions work out, the way that like finding chests and stuff works out, like honestly, when I'm not, I enjoy the game the most when I'm not doing anything. I'm just running around shooting people and trying to get loot. And that's when the game is the most fun to me. And I feel like the game has been getting some pretty bad reviews, honestly.
Yeah.
And every time I read one of these reviews, I'm like, they just don't understand what this game is. Like,
and that is a very so what you just said is can be construed as a standard fanboy line, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Of like anything. It's like, oh man, you didn't listen to Nine Inch Nails, man. You just don't get it, dog. You just don't get it. Like that's something you say, right? But it's like it is kind of sort of justifiable given what they write. What they're saying. It's like, oh, you approached this thinking it was like an MMO.
Yeah, like, for sure. Like you read through, so like Polygon is a site. I love Polygon. Every single one of their reviews I've ever read, I found myself agreeing with. Like, I'll read a review, I'll go play the game, I'll go back and look at the review again. This is how I sort of vet review sites. Is I read a review of theirs, I play the game, then I go back and read the review again and see if things sort of matched up from there. Or I'll look up their reviews of games that I've already played and sort of see where my thoughts line up with theirs, so that way I can be like, okay, this site, I agree with the thoughts that this site has. This other site, they seem to not know, like they just don't line up with my particular tastes, etc. And I think that's something that's very important for people to do, and not nearly enough people do it. Instead, they point at scores on Metacritic or something. And I was reading this Polygon review of Destiny, and they gave it a 6 out of 10. And so immediately I was like, wait, what? I really like this game. How is this? Not so much how did someone score it a 6 out of 10, because 99% of the time I could care less what score a game got through whatever site. But this was Polygon, a site who I have typically agreed with in their scoring about stuff. And so I was like reading this review, and they kept saying things like, well, this isn't like most MMOs in that blank, or it falls into the same traps as other MMOs such as blank. And the whole time I'm reading this, I'm like, were they expecting an MMO when they were playing this? Is that what's happening here? Like, it seems like a whole lot of people, and maybe this is just purely a problem with the way the game was marketed, because it was definitely marketed as like the biggest game to come out ever sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it seems like a lot of people are going into this game expecting it to be the second coming of Christ or something. And it's like, no, it's a video game. You shoot people, you get loot. That's the game.
So it's funny, like this is actually addressed in the editor's note, which is like the first couple lines here. And I don't know, I don't know if this was here from the beginning or maybe if it came afterwards, because of course the slew of like just raging nerds like popped in, right? But it says, editor's note: Destiny has been repeatedly called, well, it depends on who you ask. Bungie has used a terminology from the MMO space to describe the new franchise, but have said it's not an MMO. Meanwhile, fans seem most comfortable calling it an MMO, despite Destiny's clear roots in Bungie's history as a developer of shooters. So here is the key thing in this particular line from the editor. Destiny has been repeatedly called, well, it depends on who you ask. Next line starts with, Bungie has used terminology from the MMO space to describe, but said it's not an MMO. Okay, that section right there,
yeah,
they're basically saying, because the fans called it an MMO and they're pretty comfortable calling it MMO, we're gonna rate it as an MMO.
Yeah, like, and to me, like, I'm reading through this, and they do, like, all credit to Polygon, they do bring up some very, very good comments in this thing, like things like the boss fights, like some of the boss fights, like the one that immediately comes to mind is the stupid like spider tank thing on the Earth strike that you can go on.
Yeah, the one when you hide in the corner in the cavern.
Yeah, it takes a million years to kill, and it's stupid and just not fun. That 100% agree with. There's a few other things in this article that I absolutely 100% agree with. I just felt like a lot of the time they spent sort of trying to, like, it just so much in the way that things are presented and the way that things are described. To me, it sort of came off as, well, we think this is an MMO. We think we should call this an MMO. We don't think we should call this an MMO. We don't know if we should call this an MMO. Is this an MMO or not? Like, who freaking cares, man?
Exactly.
Just play the game. Like, play the game. Look at what the game is. If it doesn't fit into one of your categories, then don't call it any of them.
It's like, but it's hard, right? I mean, you reviewed games, I reviewed games, and it's one of those things where it's like you always draw a reference to something else that you've experienced, and for people to say that it's an MMO, it's like, are you saying it's MMO because there's a lot of people that whenever you go to like a certain area and there just happens to be people around? Because that is not what an MMO is. An MMO is like usually rich with story, and like whether or not you choose to read the quest text, right? And it's very like well, it depends, I guess, on which one you play, but it could be very quest-driven or it could be very player-driven. And in this case, it is neither. Like, it is not player-driven where the players are coming, like a sandbox MMO, where the players are coming up with the different objectives that you have to do, which is like killing other players, whatever. And it's definitely not a theme park MMO where you have a specific quest that you go and do. It's definitely, again, it's very much like Diablo, where you go to an area, there has to be another handful of people there in this case, right? But you can go the linear path in Diablo, but you can also explore off to the sides and get these side quests. You could go and find things. You can find these special bosses or whatever.
And once you get to a certain point in Diablo, you unlock adventure mode, which is basically the patrols in Destiny, and it's like it's a little bit different in terms of implementation, but it's the same sort of general concept of I'm just going to run around and do stuff and get rewarded for it. And there's some basic, like, go kill this guy, go kill that way, collect these things, fight this boss sort of stuff that go along with it. But there's really no story to speak of in adventure mode. And maybe it's just because I've been playing Diablo so much leading up to this that I immediately just sort of recognize that, oh, this is what this game is. This game is Diablo's adventure mode. Like, the storyline is there as sort of a convenience to people who want a single player experience. And then you get into the adventure mode of the game, and that's where it starts to really become like interesting to me. There's this stuff hidden around places. I want to kill things and get loot.
And you find like a cave and you do a double jump up to it or something like that or whatever, and then you walk in and there's a chest and it's like, oh shit, there's a chest here.
Yeah.
And you get loot. You get rewarded for finding this thing. And it's funny. It's like. Well, flat out, it's not an MMO.
No, not at all.
It does not have the rich story. It does not have everything that you would need. It doesn't have player-driven objectives. It's very shallow, which is something that they brought up. So I'm basically saying that Polygon was right in what they said, but in their conclusion was incorrect. And the way that they came up with these conclusions, they drew these conclusions, was, I felt like, incorrect. But when they say that there's very shallow story, yes, absolutely. Very true.
Yeah, it's definitely not something that and there's a bunch of issues. It's definitely not something that I would have said this should have been a 10 or anything like that. I wouldn't even call it a 9. Like, it's a 7 to 8.
Yeah, totally. 7 or 8.
Like a 7.5, we'll call it, is about where I would put this thing. But it's fun for what it is. There's definitely issues. I mentioned, like, you were talking about, I forgot what you said just a second ago. You said something just a second ago as an issue. I was talking about
the way that they get
there's like no story and
it's
very, very shallow story. There is some of the boss fights are super tedious. The social features are honestly kind of awful.
Big time.
Like stuff like,
again, making it not an MMO.
Well, yeah, sure, it's not an MMO, but even things like so here's a good example of a way in which the social elements are just bad in Destiny right now. If you are adventuring around and you're in one of the areas where it will group you with other players, well, it doesn't group you, but there's other players around, and you see another person and you find that you're doing basically the same stuff, and you want to invite them to your fire team so that you can then go and like talk to them, because you can't talk to anybody in this game unless they're in your fire team. You want to get them in your fire team so that you can talk to them, or go on a strike or something with them, or even just keep adventuring around but be in like the same group so you can keep track of each other a little bit better.
Yeah.
In order for that to happen, you invite them to your fire team. They accept the invitation. They load out entirely. They go back to the main
into
screen.
orbit and they come back. Yeah.
And then they were just standing next to you just a second ago. All the game had to do was say, "Oh yeah, they're in a fire team right now." That now their name is green and they can talk to each other. But instead, it does this weird, and the load times are ridiculous. Like when I was playing it, when I was playing the beta, I was playing it on Xbox 360, and I was like, "Oh man, the load times in this are terrible." But that's definitely just because it's it's definitely just a problem with the 360. Nope. Exactly. If anything, the load times seem longer on the PS4. So
I want to point this out because it's something that people watching the show, I know some of you guys are going to be keeping in the back of your head, back of your mind. You're going to be thinking, well, wait a minute, Polygon always made a big deal about the way that they review things. Their number system is different. Well, I've gone ahead and pulled that up because I want to read it to you, and I want to show you why we think it deserves a 7 or a 7.5 versus a 6. Even based on their scale. Their 6s say, games with a score of 6 have good parts but uneven overall execution. Prospective players should know what they're getting into before they dedicate time and commitment. So this is a pretty fair argument. It's a pretty fair statement to say that, okay, that would be a 6. But let's read what 7 says. 7s are good games that may even have some great parts, but they also have some big buts. They often do not do much with their concepts, or they have interesting concepts but do not do much with their that don't do much with their mechanics. They can be recommended with several caveats. That is what I would rate.
Yeah, that is exactly where I would put.
It's exactly where the game belongs. Is a 7.
Yeah, it's a game that as long as you can get past the occasionally tedious boss fight, the occasionally obnoxious social features,
the lack of story,
like if you don't care about the story, and there's another one that I don't remember now. As long as you can get past a few like things that a lot of people won't be able to get past, like a lot of people will go, well, no, that ruins it for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great game for that subset of people. If you just want a game that you run around, you shoot aliens,
you loot,
pick up loot, yeah, this is a great game for that.
And even your loot levels up, like that's awesome.
Yeah, it's
your
really
loot
cool.
has its own talent trees. Like, come on.
Yeah. Like I found a sniper rifle. The fact that I can have these sorts of conversations, by the way, with other people who play the game is really cool. When you have a game that you can say, "Oh man, I found this piece of gear and it's so cool," and like they can actually be interested in it instead of like in World of Warcraft, I say, "Oh man, I found this axe," and you go, "Oh yeah, what's it called? Who'd it drop from?" Like, and then you know exactly what axe it is, and then it's not that I found it; it's that this dropped off of this guy. But in a game like Destiny, where there's enough randomness to this stuff, or Diablo, or
yeah.
Borderlands, or anything like
PoE
these.
or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I can say, I found this sniper rifle that once I level it up, if I miss, it has a chance to refund the bullet directly back into the magazine. And that's super cool.
What? And that's the Borderlands aspect that we were talking about. It's like you pick up some of these weapons and like they may not have the outlandish names and shit that you see in Borderlands, but they definitely have some of the very outlandish like secondary mechanics that you can earn by leveling up that particular weapon.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it was like I have a weapon that like or I have a fist item or something like that, or I don't want to. It's a shotgun or something. Like you when you do damage to an enemy or something like that, like you punch faster or something like that. It's something ridiculous. It's like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Like there is definitely like if you're looking for depth in Destiny, and this is part of where I kind of feel like Polygon's review sort of missed the mark a little bit. And we've been talking about Polygon just because this is a site that I respect a whole ton, and so it's the one that I brought up. There's a lot of other sites that have been giving similar reviews, so it's definitely not a Polygon-specific thing with this. But to me, it's sort of like if you're looking for depth in Destiny and you're looking at the story, you're looking in the wrong spot. If you're looking at the gunplay, you're looking in the wrong spot. The depth in Destiny is in the gear that you can get. It's in customizing out your character, getting bigger and badder and bigger and badder, and either going after people in PvP or even just going after harder and harder. Like there's heroic mode, all sorts of stuff. There's like raids that you can go on. And I don't like, maybe the raids take the 15 to 20 minute obnoxious boss fights of the strikes and turn them into hour-long obnoxious boss fights, in which case I will never do one of them. But like, it seems like it. I guess the other thing I would say is that it seems like a game with a ton of potential, and we know that there's a lot more content coming for it too. They've got 2 expansions already like in the pipe, presumably more afterwards, and they've already made money off of the game. This is a game that it's already well worth it for them to continue supporting and like plan sequels and stuff. And we know that the character that you build is going to last through every single Destiny title that they come out with. Yeah. So to me, it's worth playing for sure. Yeah,
and I agree. After listening to everything we just said, like if you're not interested in the game, then it's not a game for you. Like flat out. That's basically it. And that's kind of
if the caveats are deal breakers for you, then you will not like this game,
pretty much. So it's funny while you're describing this, and this is, I'm not trying to plug the site, but yes, we do have a pretty awesome Destiny site, right? It's called destinydb.com. So while you were telling me about this, I know your handle, right? So I went and looked it up and I refreshed it. I renewed your character data, and I see your level 9 Exo Warlock in our database, and I'm stalking you. And I see the weapon you're talking about. I kind of wanted to see if you were bullshitting or if you even had right now.
100% serious.
Like, you're 100% serious. So it's called a Goes and See. It is your what is this? Your tertiary weapon, your special weapon,
secondary weapon, yeah.
And it's I'm sorry, yes, sorry, yeah, it's your special weapon. and it's called a mulligan, and it's straight up missing a shot has a chance to return ammo directly to the magazine.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out that you have not earned that yet.
I have not, no.
So you should get on that.
I have a problem of, I love my sniper rifle, I forget to use it. I'm always like, oh, there's some guys over there, and I just run after them, and I start like punching them and throwing grenades and stuff, and then I'm like, 3 of them are dead, and I'm like, oh shit, I should have sniped these guys.
Yeah, I mean, like I can see that you haven't really put not enough love into this thing. You should really get on that. But I mean, another cool thing that this has that I don't see in a lot of very loot-driven games is without some kind of gemming or anything like that, like some kind of enchant or something you place on the item to modify its mechanics or its stats. Built into the spec, the talent calculator or whatever that you earn into on each weapon or each whatever, especially on weapons actually, you have an opportunity to increase the damage that it does. And so for me, it's like when I'm playing with the weapon that I'm very comfortable with and that I like because of whatever bonus it's given me or because of just the way it feels when I'm playing with it, right? And then it becomes, it starts to become a little outdated. It's like, oh, there's other weapon here that hits harder. Oh man, I better re-level Betsy. It's like, well, these, and a lot of these weapons, I want to say probably almost all of them, there is a final talent or skill point that you could earn that basically increases its damage and will usually bring it up to about where you would be to meet that other weapon that you want to trade it out for.
Yeah, it's really super cool having gear that sort of keeps up with you as you go along. Like, sure, you could still find something that maybe I find another sniper rifle that has the mulligan thing that just does more damage before I unlock the damage increase on this. So at that point, I'd be like, okay, yeah, this is totally fine. But maybe like I don't find another sniper rifle for a while. Maybe like a fusion rifle or something drops, and I'm looking at that, and I'm like, but I like my sniper rifle, and I'm almost to the upgrade that'll make it do more damage. So it like actually becomes an interesting choice of, do I stick with and continue using this sniper rifle that I like, but isn't quite as good in like from a min-max standpoint. But I can keep using it and eventually it will be better, sort of thing. Like the idea of gear that sort of keeps up with you if you choose to do so, and eventually it'll become outdated because I'll get all the upgrades for it, and then I'll get to like level 15 or something. It's like, okay, this is just not good anymore. But the fact that it can stick with me for a little while, and you're sort of rewarded for using the gear that you really like, and the guns that you enjoy using, the play style that you like. It's really, really cool to me. There's a lot of great ideas in density.
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
So yeah. Speaking of games that make billions of dollars, Microsoft is apparently buying Mojang. Mojang.
Wow, everybody. Okay, thank God. Okay, oh God.
I don't know how to pronounce that.
So the J,
Mojang.
The J is y or
Mojang
or something like that.
Mojang. It's
so
like Swedish or something.
It's like Mojang or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying it very white, and I apologize.
Yeah.
To the
I don't speak whatever language this is from.
Swedish people.
Wow, you sound so white when you speak Swedish.
I got into this argument with Lindsay because we were recording Friday Update Arcade, right? And I'm like being such a ridiculous stickler for the script and for everything. Like I'm actually remote directing the whole thing. Because it's basically BIY news, but just with Lindsay, right? And so it's like my project. So anyways, we got to the Mojang part. She called it Mojang, or Mojang or something like that. And I was like, no. She's like, that's how it's pronounced. And I looked it up, right? And it's like, okay, in Swedish it's that. And I was like, but you are not Swedish. The end. You sound white when you say it, so it's not no. But it's so anyways, Mojang.
Mojang.
Okay, I'll take that. That's good.
Mohanji.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
That sounds so much better.
So Notch's company.
Thank you.
Microsoft is reportedly buying it for like $2 billion.
$2 billion. Now, the last time we talked about something that was speculated, it ended up being somebody totally different, which means Amazon's buying.
Yeah.
$2 billion.
Yeah. That's a lot of money. That said, this game, like Minecraft, still, it's $25 now. It has been for a while. I say now because when I bought Minecraft, it was $5.
Yeah, right.
But,
yes.
And so it's like people spend $25 on this, and the answer is yes. Over 1,000 people a day spend $25 on this.
I know.
Like, holy crap! And it's such a small company. Like, it's grown as Minecraft has exploded, but when it started, it was such a small. It was just Notch for a while.
Yeah.
And this game, which is like so broken still, like there's so much that's still wrong with it, and like modders and everything like have gone in and it's making so much. Like they could spend $2 billion and have that back in a year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, in some capacity. I mean, and you got to think, like, we're not just talking about the game. We're talking about all the merchandising and everything.
All the
related
license
to it.
stuff that goes along with it. Yeah.
Man.
Like the Minecraft socks and like Minecraft.
Oh, man, little creeper socks, they make those?
Yeah. I think so. Like Minecraft hats and Minecraft flavored condoms. I don't know. Probably exists. It's like.
Oh, dude, little creeper condoms? Oh, man. And they explode. Okay, that's enough.
Yeah. That's actually just kind of alarming, really. So, yeah.
So, yeah, I just want to point this out. $2 billion is what Microsoft allegedly looking to buy Notch's company for. And Disney bought Lucasfilm for $4 billion. Lucasfilm, if you're not familiar with the films that they make, the obvious ones would be obviously, Star Wars.
Lucasfilm, if you're not familiar with the films that they make, you're wrong.
there's like all of the Star Wars films. There's
Indiana
all of
Jones.
the everything else Star Wars related. There's thank you, Indiana Jones,
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck, Labyrinth, Willow,
But let's be honest, mostly Star Wars with a smattering of Indiana Jones.
Bro, no, don't do that to me.
What?
Indiana Jones is so much better than Star Wars.
No, it is, but in terms of like money making capacity, Star Wars is much bigger.
That's fine. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah.
But Indiana Jones is a strong second.
It is. The problem is they came out with that horrible, like, Shia LaBeouf movie.
Oh, if only he wasn't in it.
Yeah.
It would have been fine.
Yeah.
But he was in it. Anyways, so...
No.
Look at all of... all of this stuff I just labeled that's underneath Lucasfilm, for those of you who are not aware of what they have, was basically worth just twice as much as Minecraft.
Yeah. Like, for... So
it hurts to think of it like that, doesn't it?
So if we were to categorize Lucasfilm properties into Star Wars and everything else, Minecraft is worth as much as Star Wars.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't work out quite that way, because Star Wars, I think, is a larger than 50% percentage of Lucasfilm's worth. But still...
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, you're basically saying 2 Minecrafts equal everything ever that Lucasfilm has touched.
Yeah, exactly. And what's really interesting about that comparison is that so when George Lucas sold Lucasfilm, or sold his shares in Lucasfilm, or however that works out, he was kind of like, no, I'm done now. I'm going to pass this on and I'm done now. And I have this weird theory going on with this, because Notch has had a history of being very anti-Microsoft. Like, he's had major arguments and just generally been very vocal about being anti-Microsoft in the past. And now Microsoft is supposedly buying his company. And not only that, apparently from reports from Bloomberg and a couple of other places, Notch actually started the sale. Like, Notch actually approached Microsoft and said, hey, so we've had our differences. Do you want to buy my company for $2 billion?
Yeah. He did say in a tweet, he said, $2 billion is my price. Give me $2 billion and I will endorse your crap.
Yeah.
And look where we're at.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, he has supposedly said, and this is, I'm reading this on a site called Gematsu, which is quoting Bloomberg.
I hope to God you're not mispronouncing Kama Sutra.
No, it's Gematsu.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. No, if it was
really funny.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I always get Gematsu right. I'm kind of proud of that one.
That was good.
I think I did pretty well there. But no, so supposedly, from what's being circulated around, the rumors circulating around at this point is that as soon as Notch sells this, he's just gonna leave and he's done. And that to me makes me sort of feel like maybe Notch has just said, you know what? I'm sitting on my mounds of money. I can make more mounds of money and be set for life, and also my kids' lives and also their kids' lives.
Man, yeah, totally.
Like, why do I even work anymore? Like, why do I show up at an office? And I can't blame him at all. Like, if I had the opportunity to say, you know what, I never need to work again. I can just do whatever I want for the entire rest of my life. And I have got more than enough money to support any amount of anything that I feel like doing. I would do it. I would do it in a heartbeat. I mean, I would probably still, like, I would have hobbies, but I wouldn't just sit around and wear nothing but socks and play Destiny all day.
I don't know what I would do.
I would for a while, but, well, like, looking at people like you and me, like, this podcast that we're doing right now is just sort of something that we were like, we like doing podcasts, so we're going to do a podcast sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's where I would end up, is probably doing some form of content just for the hell of it.
I got $4 billion. I'm going to do a podcast.
Exactly. You got $4 billion. You can do whatever you want. Like, exactly. I don't think anybody should be asking questions.
But you know, there is some, I feel like there's more perspective to this because, you know, like I reviewed the game when it was like super early, like super early. All like you and I both got in the game like, yeah. And the game has come a long way. Like I own it on like multiple platforms now. You know, my Xbox, I have it on my phone, have it on my I don't know if it counts. I don't think it's two different versions for like your iPad, but still, like I have it on basically every device. If you pick up a device in my house, there's Minecraft loaded on it. Yeah. It is just one of those games that just becomes every part of everything you do if you are into that kind of creative sandboxy game. And if you know what Space Engineers is and me, and you know that that's basically one thing right now. but when I went to a family reunion last year and then this year, right? I talked to some of my cousins, and some of my cousins' kids, right? And they're like between like 6 and 9 or something like that. And when they start talking about Minecraft, I start getting into this like hella deep, rich ass conversation with this like kid who just barely learned how to pee in a toilet bowl like 2 years prior about Minecraft and the stuff we're doing in Minecraft. And I've met Notch before, which is like, oh yeah, I meet a lot of devs. It's like, okay, yeah, I met BioWare's founders, whatever. It's like I meet these all the time, right? I tell them I met Notch, and they're like, oh, whoa! I tell them I was sitting next to one of the Yogscast guys, right? I can't remember. You and I were sitting next to them when we were at 2 years ago.
I don't remember.
The skinny guy with the glasses.
Yeah.
That narrows it down, right? 50-50 chance. But I tell them that I was hanging out with them and talking and bullshit and stuff like that, and they're like, whoa, like these kids idolize these people. This game is the Mario Brothers of this generation. So if you're like 30 plus and you know Mario Brothers, you're like, oh yeah, I grew up with Mario and Mega Man and Dragon Warrior and whatever else, right? Yeah. That's what Minecraft is to this generation. Yeah. So Microsoft is fucking smart.
Oh yeah.
To invest in this for measly $2 billion.
Yeah, for sure. And like, it's actually kind of awesome that Minecraft, like, it's such a creative game too. It's so good at like making you think and plan things out, and you can be creative. You can build stuff. You can set things up. Like for that, like you look at Mario Brothers compared to Minecraft, you're like, God, what wasted youth we had playing something so useless as Mario Brothers. Like we could have been creating something.
We were just breaking blocks that somebody else put there, and they're always in the same place every time.
Yeah, exactly. Like
these kids.
It's actually really blocks. Like I have a nephew and one of my friend's kids who both have been like, no, I want to make Minecraft videos and put them on YouTube. That's what I want. And they're like 7.
Mhm.
And it's just, it makes me so proud. My little nerd gamer heart makes me so happy. Yeah. It's really, really super cool though.
Yeah. And you can't, if anything, I feel like Microsoft's getting a deal.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like if you look back and say that you're going to buy, you know, the Mario Bros. Franchise or Nintendo after the NES, like immediately after the NES was bought or whatever, right? Like, well, Nintendo's a bit of a different story because there's a lot of IPs associated with it. But it's like, this is one game that's had the impact on the youth of today. You know, like, I mean, like right now, like the young youth. You and I and everybody who's listening to this, you are not this youth. You are different.
Yeah. Well, and like you look at the longevity of Minecraft, and this is a game that literally has new customers born every minute.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you and I were first messing around with Minecraft ages ago, there are kids that are now playing this game and putting the videos on YouTube and starting to make YouTube money off of it that were not born when we were first playing this game.
Oh my god! You have to look at it. Here you go. September 8th, 2010 is when I first reviewed Minecraft Alpha.
Yeah.
And you know, it's now 2014. It's actually 4 years, almost exactly later.
There are 3 and 4 year old kids that are making Minecraft videos on YouTube. And if nothing else, there are tons of 3 and 4 year old kids that their parents are buying them Minecraft.
Oh yeah, you kidding me, man? My kid's got Minecraft on his.
Yeah.
Yes. No, it is absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Yep. And so it's the sort of thing that, like, yeah, Microsoft is really, really smart to make, like, $2 billion is cheap for Minecraft. Like I said earlier, like they could do nothing. They could literally just start collecting the money from Minecraft and make back that $2 billion in a year. With the advertising power that they have, with the creative power that they have, with the licensing reach that they have, Microsoft can take Minecraft and turn around $6 billion plus in a year.
Oh yeah, easy. I mean, think about it. It's on every platform right now. Well, I'm sorry, except for Wii, right? But it's on the Xbox 360, One,
Minecraft
PS3,
on the
PS4.
Wii U. If you had, this is what needs to happen. They need to put Minecraft out on the Wii U so everybody can buy it again, and then you could have your inventory screen and everything on the gamepad. And you look up, and there's the doing stuff in the world, and it would be so cool. I think the Wii U is a very, very underrated console, and it's just not getting the third-party support that it needs to really break out. The actual like system specs are pretty crappy, but the stuff that you can do with that gamepad, like if you play something like Zombie U, there's a couple other games. Which don't come to mind immediately off the top of my head, but there's definitely other games that have sort of advanced things a little. I think actually the Assassin's Creed Pirates of the Assassin's Creed Caribbean or whatever it was called was another one that it runs like crap on the Wii U, but it does some cool stuff with the gamepad. It's just interesting stuff. I don't know why we're on this tangent now, but Minecraft on the Wii U would be really cool.
Yeah, I can see that. If anything, Minecraft on the Wii U would be cool because you immediately have 2 different screens that people could play on.
Yep.
And so that alone is pretty nifty. God, even Minecraft on the fucking iPhone is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm on a flight, right? And I'm sitting there next to this guy. I don't know who this guy is. We start bullshitting about something. I don't know. We were just talking. He's one of those guys who just talks to everybody, which is great because I'm one of those guys too. We started bullshitting about stuff, and he was there at like E3 last year or something like that. And I don't know. One thing led to another. There wasn't even alcohol involved, right? And then here I am setting up my phone as a hotspot, firing up Minecraft. He hooks up to my Wi-Fi hotspot, and we're sitting there playing Minecraft and literally putting dicks in this world of Minecraft on a Southwest flight, whatever the fuck.
Nice.
Like, it's that single unifying game that everybody knows.
I actually just earlier today started playing Minecraft again. Like, my WoW guild had a server for ages, and we stopped playing for a while, and then we were like, we should start up a Minecraft server again. And then earlier today, like, someone found this, like, I forget the exact name of the setting, but it's something that, like, makes the world like crazy super like vertical. So there's tons of like big sheer cliff faces and floating islands and stuff all over the place. And it's just so super cool. And like the weirdest part about playing Minecraft for me is like I'll do literally nothing in Minecraft. I will just walk around and explore. And that's how I play Minecraft. Like sometimes I decide I want to dig a hole to see what's underground so I can explore underground. And like sometimes I build things. Like I built this giant robot once just because I felt like it. I wanted to make something that was big enough that when you do one of those like top-down scans of the world, you could see like, oh, there's this giant robot over here, and he was like pointing at something. It took me like a day and a half to actually do. It was cool. It was whatever.
Yeah. Cool.
And then he had like lava coming out of his hand. That was cool. And then somebody put a giant dick on him, and that was also kind of hilarious.
That's standard.
But like I will just run around and explore, and I'm like, oh, this place is so cool. And like that sort of like procedurally generated world exploration thing is something that very few games can really do properly nowadays. Yeah. Like when you start getting into tile sets and like, oh, this is the same room. Like games like Diablo have procedurally generated worlds. And like it serves their purposes well enough in making it so it's not the same every time, but I never really feel like I'm exploring in Diablo. Like I go into a new cave and I don't really feel like I'm exploring the cave. I'm just sort of like filling out all the points on the map, and eventually I'll find the way out, or I'll find the thing that I'm in there to kill. Mm-hmm. But something like Minecraft, I will wander around and I'll just be like, oh, I found some reeds, or I found some diamonds, or I found like, look at this thing that I found. And there's no like real strategy to finding it. Like I'm sure there's ways to be like, oh, the best way to find diamonds is to dig down really deep and you go whatever. I never feel like any of that is something that I need to really do. I can just run around and explore and look at stuff, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
So yeah, we like Minecraft.
We do.
You won't see us playing it on a stream or anything, though.
Probably not.
Every once in a while, maybe we get crazy.
Yeah.
I actually, the one night that Shizzle and I played that one time, like we had a fucking blast. We weren't getting shit done. We weren't going anywhere. No matter how far we explored, we always ended up on the same freaking thing that we started. And it's just like, but still, like we had a blast. This is one of those games you could totally go in and have fun.
Yep.
Yeah. Everyone. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. I feel like Minecraft streaming is the sort of thing that you generally want to already have something kind of built. Like the stream is in showing people what you've made, and not necessarily like, here, watch me mine stone for the next 3 hours.
You know, what's funny is that when I was packing up the old place to move here, I had my like laptop or something. I had something hooked up, and I just remember like I had a stream going. It was a real popular Minecraft streamer, and he was just talking to you like, I want to say he was Canadian, right? And not because he had an accent or anything, because he was just like so nice and so friendly. And I was like, I just want to be this guy's friend, you know? And the way he talked, the way like just so is, and he was doing something. He was talking about stuff in Minecraft, but it was just like it just kept me calm. And I was like packing and everything and running around, throwing stuff down. And I would look over and be like, oh yeah, you're doing this thing. That's crazy. And then it was just like, yeah, it was just. There's some of the streams out there, it's like you could just watch somebody doing something. I mean, that's just streaming in general, right? You could watch somebody doing nothing for an extended period of time, and just them talking is enough. You know what? That's every stream with DayZ.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. DayZ streams at the very least is something that you can watch it for a while. You can sort of have it on in the background, and you're working, or you're doing something, you're playing some other game entirely, or you're playing DayZ yourself. And then every once in a while, like, something happens. Like, you'll have Shizzle on in the background or something when he's playing DayZ, and it's just sort of him talking and making jokes for ages, and, like, and then suddenly he'll be like, oh, crap, and you start hearing, like, bullets shooting around and stuff, and he's running around, like, looking for stuff, and, yeah.
Yeah, when you hear, blah, then you know you're too late.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of streaming,
yeah,
there are people who are great at streaming, and then there's people who are not good at streaming.
Yes. On the one hand, there's like people like Shizzle with his streams, which we've talked about at length on this podcast. They're pretty good. You should check them out.
Obviously.
And then on the other hand, there's multi-billion-dollar corporations like Apple. So extremely like entertaining, but one guy shizzle. Multi-billion-dollar corporation. One of these you would expect to be able to execute a stream flawlessly, and if you said Apple, you're dumb.
Yeah,
because I telegraphed
you're
that
misinformed.
one really well.
You're misinformed.
Yeah.
Oh,
so they had their press conference thing recently. I don't even know what.
And we don't even care about the products they were pushing. Like we really don't. It was about the presentation that they do, because usually the presentations are really good. They make you believe that these things are like the first time you've ever seen this type of feature in a phone or whatever they're selling.
Yeah,
it's not about that.
They're always like, you've never seen this before unless you use Android. I have to. I'm just gonna lay this out there right now.
Oh boy, here we go.
I'm an Android user. I have an Android phone. I have an LG G3. It's amazing. I do vastly prefer the iPad to every single. I own an iPad Mini as well, and I love that thing. I prefer Android phones, Apple tablets. Like I feel like that's about where things fall for me. The tablet experience, the iPad experience is just so much better than the Android tablets available. But I prefer my Android phone for.
See, I just have to have I just have to have like a unified experience. That's my problem. So because I started off with Android, and then I was like, and then I think I got an iPad or something, and then I realized that it was, or something like that. But basically, it was like a unified experience makes sense to me, like having the same thing on everything.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be an issue as well. And like I actually originally had an Android tablet. I had one of the first Galaxy Tabs, and I just hated it. Like it just sucked. And I actually started to find the unified experience to be kind of annoying, because now instead of whenever I get an email, my phone goes off, now my phone and my tablet go off. And like I'm hearing all these noises from all these different directions. And like I just found a lot of the synchronizing between my phone and my tablet to be completely useless. So I was like, you know what? I'll in fact, actually, Zam got me an iPad at one point. They're like, here you go. I'm like, okay, thanks. They didn't tell me about it because I got it like 2 days after the return period for my Galaxy Tab. I was like, I
remember you had a Galaxy tablet.
Yeah, and I was like, I was talking to it was Ryan at the time. I was like, was I supposed to get this? Was this like sent to the wrong person? Because I'd never heard about it. And he was like, oh yeah, you would have heard about it if you were in that meeting you're supposed to be in every day. And I was like, there was a meeting I'm supposed to be in every day? So yeah.
That's really funny. I mean, as being the person who is now like working on this company, like, and in these meetings every day, it's like, nobody told you about that?
I had no idea it even existed for ages. And then I was like, really there's a meeting I'm supposed to be in every day? And then he never answered me. And so then I forgot about it. And like 2 days later, I was like talking to Cody, and I was like, is there some meeting I'm supposed to be in? He was like, actually, I'm not sure. Let me check. And he never got back to me. And I ended up asking like Perk at some point. I'm like, I guess there's a meeting that happens at some point. And I don't know if I'm supposed to be in that or not. And she was like, don't worry about it. I handle everything. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Perk is really good at running things. And honestly, she probably ran your shit for you while you were gone.
Yeah, I just didn't even know.
She's just like that.
Yeah. Just had no idea.
At the time, your silly videos.
At the time, like, I would have had nothing to contribute to the conversation. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make the same videos I make every single week. I'm still doing exactly that. What are you doing for the next sprint? Oh, making videos. I thought maybe this week I'll talk about raids. I don't know.
I haven't decided yet, but yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Apple
really, really bad at streaming.
Really bad at streaming.
I tuned in, which first off, you couldn't watch it in Chrome on your PC.
Nope. You couldn't watch it in anything but Safari on your PC.
And so, well, Safari does not exist. It will never exist on my PC.
Yes.
But I couldn't watch it on my PC, basically. So I go downstairs, I get the laptop. It's a MacBook, right? I grab the laptop, I bring it up here, and I'm sitting there, and I fire it up, and I go to the page. It's like, oh, they have a live blog thing. That's kind of funny. They're trying to do the same thing that everybody else does, you know? And then the feed loads, and I'm getting like this weird interference, and I thought I was in Mumble. I was like, oh, someone's in Mumble. I was like, oh, wait a minute, that's Chinese or something. Like, nobody in Mumble is like that I know of speaks Chinese fluently, and that doesn't stop. And so I realized it was
the Chinese like translator feed going through like their main feed or something.
Oh my god, it was so terrible.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
I didn't end up like actually tuning in until they started talking about the Apple Watch, cuz like smartwatches are something that I'm really, really super into. Like, they may be the most useless things ever, but God,
you want to
one.
watch. Like, I want to watch. I want one, but I want one that's going to have some kind of functionality.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I have
besides
a watch.
tell time.
I have a watch already. It's a fine enough watch. I don't particularly feel the need to buy a new watch, and if I do, it'll be for $5 from Target. So, like... But like looking at something like a smartwatch, like there's a whole bunch of Android ones now, or the Apple Watch. Like, I miss notifications all day, every day, because I have my phone in my pocket.
I don't feel it.
I'm at work, so I've got it on vibrate. There's no sound or anything, and like the worst thing for me is it'll buzz, and I'll think, oh, something happened, and I'll go and look at like my email, and there'll be a new email, or I'll look at Hangouts, and there'll be a new message. I'm like, oh, that must have been what it was. And it turns out, no, like there was a DM that somebody sent me that was super important on Twitter, and I just didn't ever, because I thought it was this other thing. Mm-hmm. And so like having something that's on my wrist that then buzzes at me, and I can just real quick glance at my wrist and look back to tell what that notification was, would just be like the act of not having to take my phone out of my pocket sounds like the laziest thing in history, but oh my god, like that would it's not that's about, worth it's not hundreds of dollars to me.
you just justified it, and not just in your mind, but in a lot of people's minds. It's like a lot of us miss notifications because it's in our pocket, right? Yeah. Like, we don't feel it. I mean, obviously there's a buzz. You check your normal outlets, which I do all the time, right? I check my email. Oh, there's email there. Boom, that's what it was. Later on, I find out, oh no, there was a withdrawal from my Chase account for $600. Let me, oh shit, was that my wife? Let me check and make sure, So it's like, there's a distinction there that you don't always get from like a buzz or something. But having it right there on your wrist, there's no excuse not to pull it out and check it. It's right there. You see it.
Yeah, exactly. And like, especially with my phone, which, like I said, it's an LG G3. It's a 5.5-inch screen. It's massive. Pulling that thing out of my pocket when I'm sitting at my desk, like I almost have to stand up. Like it's like I'm trying to pull it out right now, and I have to like do the hook my leg under the chair thing to be able to pull my phone out of my pocket, and it's just such a pain in the ass. So like if I see something that I think was it, I go, whew, cool, I don't have to pull my phone out, and I go back to what I was doing. So I miss notifications all the time. I miss reminders constantly. Like, I will set a reminder for something and it doesn't matter because I just never see it. So smartwatches for me are really, really interesting. The Apple Watch looks interesting-ish.
It looks sexy.
Yeah.
Like, the screen looks, I mean, people are taking pictures of the screen. Usually when you take a picture of a screen, you do tend to kind of wash it out, whatever. Like, it looks like it's bright and has a high enough of gamut or a contrast that you would actually be able to make everything out. Like, the blacks are black, the colors are very vivid and rich. Yeah. And the fidelity in terms of like the pixel density looks really like it's a retina display.
Yeah. The problem, there's two major problems that smartwatches have at the moment. One of them is in terms of actual functionality, and that's one of the biggest reasons that I haven't really seriously looked at getting an Android smartwatch yet, because like of all the millions of things that I can think that this would be amazing if I could do it on my smartwatch, most of them you actually can't at the moment. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like the app that you want, like I don't know if Skype will push a notification to my smartwatch. I kind of doubt that it will. So that's kind of lame. And the other problem is battery life. And the Apple Watch seems to, from what people have been saying, the Apple Watch, and from what they were talking about at the convention, it sounds like it's doing pretty well in terms of the actual functionality, because of the way that the iOS ecosystem works. Like especially the way that their notifications work. Like they just have a much more central notification thing in iOS. So that means that notifications will show up on your watch. Like that's just because there was a notification that was sent, and because it has to sync to your iPhone, like the notification will then go to your watch as well. So that's super cool. And there's a bunch of features that they were showing off that seemed decent, like different types of watch faces and stuff. The problem is, from what I've been hearing about the Apple Watch, it only gets like a 12 to 14 hour battery life.
Wait, we don't know that yet, though. They didn't talk about it. And
they didn't talk about it at the thing.
All they said was on a one night's charge or something like that. You charge it at night or something like that, which you would think indicates that it would be dead by the end of the night. Yeah,
and that's the thing that worries me about it, just because it's the same problem that the Android watches are having right now. Is this thing is really small. It can only have a really small battery in it. And battery technology is just not to the point where, like, my phone is massive and it has a massive battery and it can last 2 days without charging. A watch that's a tenth of that size will, like, the size of a battery doesn't directly correlate to how much juice it can hold, but it's pretty close. Like, if it's a tenth of the size of my giant phone that can only last 2 days, then it means it probably can't last all night.
Exactly.
And some of the like weirdnesses that then goes along with that, and things like, well, okay, so it has all these features that you can, like, if you're wearing your smartwatch while you're sleeping, then it does like all sorts of sleep tracking stuff, which is cool and all, except for the fact that then you haven't charged your smartwatch. So
no matter how easy they make it for you to charge this watch, you're gonna not charge it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're not gonna be able to use this device for an entire day.
Yeah, exactly. Like the sleep features are just gonna be completely worthless, because I'm not gonna buy a smartwatch to monitor my sleep and never use it during the day. That's stupid. So in order for it to actually be useful for the sleep purposes at all ever, it would need to last upwards of 2 days before that can actually be a thing that you can do.
That's why you just don't buy Gen 1. Gen 2, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, well, and that's sort of the thing. Like, I'm actually really, really happy that Apple is now into the smartwatch game.
Yes.
Because, like, when it was just Android doing the smartwatch thing, it was sort of like, oh, look at this thing Android's doing. Look how adorable and cute that is. It doesn't work at all, and all of these smartwatches are so terrible, but look how adorable and cute that. Oh, Apple's doing it. Oh. Oh. Yeah, so now developers are going to start taking it seriously.
Yes. Apple is, even if you hate Apple, you absolutely have to appreciate the fact that they legitimize any area that they step into.
Yeah.
I linked a thread the other day that I thought was kind of amusing, but I think if you read it, then it's kind of interesting to see the perspectives of people back in 2001 when the iPod was announced. Mm-hmm. The people were saying, "Oh my God, another shitty MP3 player! Like, are they seriously going to revolutionize this crap? Give me a break! It's another shitty MP3 player." And yes, there were a lot of really shitty MP3. As somebody who worked at an electronics store around the same period, I can tell you there are a lot of shitty MP3 players. Apple helped clean a lot of that stuff up. It wasn't until the iPod came around that we started to see good MP3 players like the Zune, right?
Yeah.
That stuff, that's just the way it worked. It wasn't until the iPod showed up that we started to see the iPhone showed up that we started to see good smartphones like the G1 or the Droid or anything else that you're seeing, right? Yep. But like the G1 came out after the iPod, or sorry, iPhone. And it was because it helped legitimize that area. People were like, well, why would I have to have
my
all
BlackBerry?
This stuff? Yeah, exactly. Why would I need all this stuff, a giant touchscreen? Why would I need a smartphone or whatever? People who use Blackberries, though, it was a different type of feel, right? Like, it wasn't quite as immersive. It didn't catch on, right? It wasn't sexy. Blackberries were never sexy.
Yeah, they were always business. Very
exactly.
Business.
Yeah, pretty much. So for them to get into this business, you're basically saying, okay, they're gonna help me as an Android user get better watches.
Yeah,
essentially.
Because as someone who, like, I have never owned an iPhone. I do have an iPad, like I mentioned, but I've never owned it's actually my second iPad too. I sold my iPad 2 to get the iPad mini because I thought that the size was cooler. But I've never owned an iPhone. I actually had a BlackBerry Storm for a while, which was the weird one with, like, it had the clicky touch screen. It was weird.
Oh yeah. It was really weird.
Yeah. And then I went from that into a Droid X, and I've been on Android ever since. And having slogged through the early days of Android, because even in the most optimistic of senses, early Android was pretty crappy.
It was only good for its NES emulators.
And it was the sort of thing that, unless you were positive that you would be willing to and able to hack through several hundred different loopholes in order to get it to work how you wanted it to. Like, early droids, you had to put a custom ROM on them, or else they just sucked.
Yeah,
like,
pretty much.
And even then, they still kind of sucked, because you would put the custom ROM on them, and all of a sudden, like, your Bluetooth would stop working or something. Having now gotten to a point where I have this... had the Galaxy S3 for a while, and that phone, I was like, oh my god, I finally don't feel like I have to put a custom ROM on this. And now on the G3, where I'm like, I don't even want to put a custom ROM on this. This is so good where it is now. Like, it's got this super clear display, and it's so nice, it's so fast and snappy. I'm like, yeah, this all happened because Android was like, holy shit, we need to keep up with the iPhone. Like, the iPhone has been beating the crap out of us absolutely everywhere, because despite the fact that every single iPhone that's ever released has had worse specs than the bottom-end Android phones that were available at the time, it still has run better. It still has performed better. Like, something is very, very cool and well put together about iOS, that you can have something that barely has any... It can barely make graphics happen, but you can play full 3D games in, like, smooth 60 frames per second, no problem on them. So, looking at Apple now getting into the smartwatch game just makes me go, okay, cool. Smartwatches are here to stay. Like, this isn't something that's going to just up and disappear. These guys are going to be fighting about this for a long time. And it's actually really interesting to look at how far Apple's branding has come, and just the power of their brand in general. Because you remember, you were talking about the iPod came out, and people were like, another shitty MP3 player. Then the iPhone, and people were like, why is Apple making a phone? That's so... Don't they make computers? This is bizarre. Why are they making a phone? And then the iPad...
Why don't I talk to my iPod?
Yeah. And then the iPad... People just laughed at like crazy when they announced the iPad.
Yeah, so I got it back to... People are actually pretty excited about the iPhone, because it did everything, right? Kind of in their minds, it kind of did everything, right? But the iPad was a fucking joke.
Yeah. Like, why would I want a big phone? That's stupid. There's nothing that I could possibly do on my phone but bigger that would be, oh, actually, this is awesome. This is amazing. This has revolutionized now the way that people do business. And, like, now, like, I laughed at the iPad like crazy when I was like, this is silly. Why would anyone ever want it? There's nothing that I would ever want to use this for. And I now have an iPad mini that I use every single day at work. Like, this is now part of my daily life, is using my iPad. And now you look at the Apple Watch, and the response to the Apple Watch has not been at all, why would you ever want a smartphone on your wrist? No, it's been, oh, awesome. Like, this is so cool. Look at all this cool stuff that you can do. The $350 price point, I don't know about, but, like, that's been the only real sticking point in this whole Apple Watch thing. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. I feel like we're starting to get into a point where technology is really starting to make leaps and bounds again, and that makes me very happy.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Well,
yep.
We've talked a lot.
We talked a lot.
Maybe,
almost like it's probably the longest one I think we've done.
Maybe next time Apple has a conference, they can come out with some sort of streaming technology.
They're getting away from the i thing. I can't call it iStream. It's Apple Stream, basically. It's Apple
Stream,
closed Apple logo.
Yeah,
stream.
I don't know why they didn't call it iWatch. Like,
well, no, notice that it's Apple Pay and it's Apple Watch. They're getting away from the i thing.
The i thing, yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like the i thing is like it works, but maybe they're tired of it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they're probably running out of things that could claim because everybody's claimed everything.
Yeah,
like iTV is claimed. That's why it's Apple TV.
That's why it's Apple TV. Yeah, I bet there's probably someone who has something called the iWatch, which is like a strap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with Apple, they could get away with a lot of shit because Apple is their brand. So people who take Apple is essentially taking their brand. Yeah,
they can trademark Apple and put whatever they want after it, but they can't trademark blank. Like that doesn't work. Even Apple can't trademark that, and Apple trademarks freaking everything. Or patents or whatever.
Patents.
Yeah.
And Samsung.
Yeah. Samsung is also bad at patents. The freaking patent wars. Oh my god. The patent system is just It's the system, man. It's the system.
We'll say that for next one.
Yeah, let's not go down that rabbit hole. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Check us out on Twitter at Devilore, at AK Mike B.
And if you're wondering why we don't have an actual Apple stream or whatever iTunes feed, we do. We have a feed burner link, which is actually down below. I'll have a link to it, depending on where you're watching, I guess. But if you go there and you select iTunes to feed, it'll actually put it in your iTunes account, and you can feed it that way, and it'll update and everything just using the RSS. We're not actually in the store yet. I'm looking into how to do that. I already have it sent. I did that. We had needed 3. And I did all that, and I guess I'm just waiting for approval or something. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, so it's something I honestly don't know how it works. I'm just following the processes, and I'm hoping that it does work. And if not, then obviously I did something wrong. But we're working on it. But you can get it in iTunes if you want, and it will update if you use the feed burner link below. It will absolutely work because I'm doing it right now.
Yeah. So now that we've gotten to the end of this podcast, now you know how to download it.
For next time, okay? Fine.
Yeah, for next time. Cool.
Thanks for watching. Or listening. God damn it. We're seriously getting it like that?
Yeah.